Jon Ferrara, we are live on Social Selling with Linking into Sales, and so excited to have you on the show. I get to have you all to myself. Greg's working on projects. Elise decided to lose her voice today with a cold, and so it's just you and I. So we're going to cover some news, but great to have you here.
I'm looking forward to having some fun with you, Martin.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to start with just a little bit of social selling news. And since Greg's not here, I asked him to pre-record it. So I'm going to switch over and we'll watch a little video of him talking about the news. And then we'll come back, mention our sponsor, and get you live. So.
All right. Hey, everybody. Greg Heyer here with some social selling news for you for the Social Selling Podcast by Linking into Sales. First, want to say thanks to Jon Ferrara for definitely coming out and joining us today on the podcast. I'm sorry I can't be there, of course, but I know that Jon and I will definitely have an opportunity to catch up a little bit later in 2017. Anyways, first thing in the news, LinkedIn and Microsoft are fully one company now. So LinkedIn is a subsidiary of Microsoft, but the sale actually went to close. The EU actually pushed it forward and approved the merger, even though Salesforce kind of said, well, hold on a second, you guys really need to look closely at this. We know that Salesforce was a little upset with this acquisition, but it's okay. Unfortunately, we'll see what happens. And I think one of my predictions for 2017 with this particular merger is I think that Microsoft is going to figure out that, or Microsoft and LinkedIn are both going to figure out that they're not exactly compatible. But we'll see what happens. In the announcement, following the closing of this particular merger, Microsoft had actually said in their press release that they were going to be definitely focused on helping getting the training material that is within Lynda, that is now called LinkedIn Learning, getting that product, getting those products integrated into the different Microsoft products. Now, it's my understanding that Lynda was actually probably one of the #1 resources for people to go out to learn more about Microsoft Excel and Word and PowerPoint and all these other fun products that Microsoft has. So why not integrate those training materials, those training modules into the product itself? I think it becomes an extremely helpful resource file. Now, how does that help you as a social seller? Well, I guess if you sell training stuff on Excel, you might need to get a little bit more customized on that, on your training stuff. So, but we'll see. Anyways, another point in that press release which kind of caught my attention was the fact that they said specifically that they want to provide training material to people who have been left behind in these different economic times. So you can imagine that there's a lot of people out there who work regular jobs who don't do social selling. They're still in the traditional sales. The traditional sales role, or they're working in the marketing department. They're still doing traditional marketing. They could be in manufacturing. They just could be in just very traditional businesses, and it's just they haven't received any training, nor have they actually. Their companies have really done a poor job of investing within them. So we're going to see a lot more coming from that. So they also announced that Microsoft is going to be integrated. It was going to integrate the LinkedIn data itself into their CRM product, Dynamics 365. I'm definitely looking forward to hear what Jon is going to have to say about some of that stuff, because we know we had a visit out to Microsoft, so hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about that. Anyways, there's some fun stuff that's been happening actually in the live video space as well. Instagram has announced live video. What's really interesting about this is that if you don't catch it, you'll miss it, okay? So with Instagram live video, you can take and broadcast immediately, but once you're done broadcasting, it's gone. There's no saving it for later. There's no reviewing it later. It's just gone. It's just a live stream of data going out to the internet, and once it goes, it goes. It's gone. It's like you can't go back in time with Instagram anymore. So keep that in mind when it comes to live video. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the episode. That's it for social selling news for today. My name is Greg Heyer. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Great. Thanks, Greg, for remotely joining us. I just need to mention our sponsor briefly, NC State Technology Training Solutions, where you can get all the skills you need for being more effective, including a LinkedIn training class that Greg and I do, social media management certificate program, and many other. Go to linkingintoSales.com/NCSUTTS, and it'll link to it and find out about great training we have. So, Jon, you are the founder and CEO of Nimble, and a creator, a great history of many things in your life. And we really wanted to get your input today on what you see in your crystal ball for the next year. But before we begin, I see a time machine behind you on that wall, I have to mention, because it's pretty exciting. Behind Jon, for our listeners, there's a wall of things called books, and you hold them in your hand, and there are things I see called records that are these big things made out of plastic that physically transferred sound. So would you just, for our listeners, mention what that wall is before we go any further?
Well, Martin, this wall back here represents who I am. And in the old days, when you went and built relationships with business people, you checked out their wall, the books they read, the degree of the school they went to, the knickknacks they collected. All these things were clues into who they were and ways that you could find commonality in order to earn their intimacy and trust. So they open up to you about their business issues, which as a professional, you could then solve. Today, we're doing that electronically, and Nimble, thank goodness, is helping people to do that. But basically, this is a collection of my loves and my passions. So I'm passionate about photography, and I've got books on photography.
National Geographic photography, I see that.
Astronomy, and so I've got books on astronomy. I'm passionate about computer science, and so I've got books on algorithms and things, and the list goes on. And I just so happen to love my music, and this is one of my favorite albums. This is Traffic, Low Spark, A High Heel Boys. And,
he's showing, for our listeners, he's showing his Traffic album in a nice piece of plastic, protecting it. Is that right? Now, wait a second. Was that a cutout version where they cut the corner off for a discount store?
Yeah. For those of you that don't know what the record looks like, this is an album. And for those that don't know, yes, albums do sound better than most CDs. So we don't have CDs anymore either. And we can explain that really briefly. The thing is that because of my mathematics background, I studied this thing called calculus, and calculus teaches you to find the area under a curve. And so if you think about the way they compress audio to be digital, what they do is they create this series of rectangles underneath that curve of the sound wave. And as you build these rectangles, what happens is that box is under the curve, so you lose a little bit of the curve as you build these rectangles, and that's what you lose as far as the audio spectrum. But I digress. That is who I am. If you want to know who I am, you could either come visit me in my office, or you can digitally walk in my footprint, or you can Nimble me. If you just type in Jon Ferrara and Nimble, you'll find out a lot about who I am and what I'm passionate about. But I think we connect on the 5 F's of life: family, friends, food, fun, and frolicking, aligned with our 3 P's: passion, plan, and purpose. And ultimately, if you do connect with another human being along those ways, you will transcend any business bumps that happen in life to help you to achieve your goal, which I hope, Martin, is helping other people grow.
That's great. That's great. And so this is a time of year for people to reflect on what they learned from this year and their wins that they had this year, and prepare for the next year coming. So here we just did that, talking about a little bit about your background and past, and also the importance in building relationships of having enough content so someone can build rapport with you as well. So that's another piece you brought up. which comes to the show, is really looking at what you think about the future of 2017. And Greg brought up he really has a burning interest to start with the Microsoft acquisition with LinkedIn and your comments on it. So
Sure.
I'll let you go because there's a lot of passion behind this, strong feelings across the board. So I think we've all been affected by LinkedIn, and love to hear your views. Where do you see 2017, the good, the bad, the ugly on this, maybe for Microsoft and LinkedIn?
Martin, for you to understand the future, you need to know the past. And most people don't have a background in the computer industry to really understand how things evolve as far as technologies and then how they get adopted. And so if you look at what's going on with Microsoft and LinkedIn, in order to talk about that effectively, I think you need to talk about what's going on with Microsoft and Office 365 in the cloud and what that means for all of us. So Microsoft doesn't innovate, they iterate. They wait for other people to prove the market. Then they come into the market and they build good products. But most importantly, they use their huge base of end users, huge base of resellers, and huge base of Microsoft team members who know how to market and do business at scale. And that's why I'm super excited about what's going on with LinkedIn and Microsoft, because of what Microsoft has been able to do under Satya as their new CEO with Office 365 and the cloud. A year ago, 90% of my new customers adopting Nimble were Gmail or Google Apps for Work. Today, 50% of them are Office 365. Now, we haven't changed a thing. The market has changed. Microsoft has come out with a Office 365 platform that is delighting customers, and they're adopting it. I think they're adopting it primarily because how great the productivity suites are, Excel and Word. That's what we prefer to use. And the operating system of a business is either going to be Office 365 or Google Apps for Work. Every business needs email, contact, and calendar and productivity suites in the cloud. And so your two choices are those two platforms. People don't use iCloud for business. And so if those are the operating system choices of your business, if you could layer LinkedIn data across all that contact, calendar, and email, you have an incredible advantage of insights into people and companies that I think Microsoft is going to leverage to accelerate the adoption of not just Office 365, but also of Microsoft Dynamics 365, business and enterprise, etc. But what I'm most excited about is that Microsoft knows how to do business with other ISVs. Those are independent software vendors. And one of the things that we've been seeing with Microsoft in that our relationship with them has deepened over this past year, where Microsoft actually signed a deal to start reselling Nimble with Office 365 and through their VARs, and that's happening today. And Microsoft just signed a deal where they're going to embed Nimble inside of Outlook Mobile on 40 million handsets starting in January. And so this is the first place I'm actually talking about that. But what that means is that the insights that Nimble provides on people and company is going to be infused across Microsoft's entire product line, not just Office 365, not just Outlook, not just Outlook Mobile, but actually with Dynamics CRM. So Microsoft just hired the guy that built the Salesforce App Exchange, Ron Huddlestone, and he's building an app store for Dynamics CRM. Nimble will be a launch partner for that. We'll be delivering insights on people and companies. Now, you might think to yourself, well, LinkedIn and Nimble, aren't they conflicting? Well, no, they're not. We're actually great friends. In fact, my relationship with LinkedIn goes back 5 years, where they gave me the keys to the city and all the APIs that enable us to integrate deep into that platform and deliver really great insights. And I think that with the adoption or the acquisition of Microsoft, LinkedIn by Microsoft, that those APIs will actually get opened up again, and we'll be able to deliver not just the wonderful insights that Nimble delivers outside of the LinkedIn information, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Foursquare, Google+, Crunchbase, AngelList, etc., but we'll actually be able to do that by combining people's Office 365, Skype, Dynamics CRM contacts, infusing them with all the delight that Nimble does, as well as how utilize Nimble within LinkedIn data within all those platforms. That's my prediction. I predict that Microsoft will open up the ecosystem to not just third-party software developers like us, but also to trainers like you, where there might be an official training program where Microsoft end users and VARs can be referred to experts like you and Greg to help them scale their social selling success.
This is real important because I really was concerned about the future of LinkedIn because they felt more like they were in the social selling space, but instead of empowering people to surf, they were trying to control the whole ocean. Even their sales force for the social selling platforms were almost bludgeoning interruption advertising coming at me with a pitch pushed at me from LinkedIn. And I go, could you possibly learn about social selling? I mean, they're trying to sell a platform for social selling and they're pushing a spam like email to me. And I was really, I've been really concerned about its future before Microsoft bought it. And I'm very excited because if we look back again in history, like on your wall, not many people remember something called Betamax, but they do remember, at least they might remember VHS in the history. You know, some their parents had it or something else. Well, Betamax wanted to control the environment, and VHS, others could make money. Well, when I was at IBM, there was something called Token Ring, and they wanted to control the environment. And Ethernet was open for others to make money. Look who's still here. Now, VHS has evolved out, but, you know, the fact is it had a longer life than Beta did. Those who want to control the ocean, to me, are going to be dead in the water. Now, those that are learning to play well with others, like you're saying possible with the Microsoft and the signs, that to me is something we need to watch for in the future. And that's what you're saying speaks to me about, is that there's some real hope here that Microsoft's infusion with LinkedIn will let others play well with it, which I think is really good for the marketplace. And now I'm going to add, I'm hoping that they'll work to upgrade the interface. I teach LinkedIn on a regular basis, and I almost feel I need to apologize for such the outdated, non-ergonomically updated interface over the years that they have, that it just doesn't feel like they've gotten in front of enough customers and asked, what makes this a better business experience for you at a grassroots level? So that's it. So any comments on what I said? Am I aligned with what you're talking about or not?
Yeah, I think what you just said, Martin, is that an open market creates free enterprise that enables markets to truly scale. And that you and I both see that for LinkedIn to be successful, it has to create an ecosystem of software companies adding value, of trainers and teachers and implementers like yourself who can go in and help businesses to utilize it. But my prediction is that you will not just be doing LinkedIn training in the future, but you're going to go help transform businesses by helping them to adopt Office 365 and LinkedIn and Dynamics and other tools that allows you to deliver a complete solution. Because I really believe that there's a lot of companies out there that are still stuck in the mud with IMAP and POP and a mismatch of different types of tools. I can't tell you how many customers I talk to that have maybe IMAP or POP or Exchange server for their email, and then they're using Google for their calendar sync, and none of this stuff really talks together. And then the contacts, who knows? And so I think that the future is really bright for all the people out there, end users, trainers, implementers, and software vendors like us.
That's excellent. Now I want to change the topic a little bit for something that interests me of where you see the future going, and that's with AI, machine learning, and bots that help us solve problems in the sales force, because I've seen that evolving as we're going along. And of course, even in just simple Google search is you look something up of how to fry an egg, and now they've got the recipe there with the link that their artificial intelligence is judged is the authority. And so where do you see what will be implemented and integrated in 2017 in the AI, machine learning application, stuff like that? Because Nimble is one of those things, but what else?
Well, I really believe that we're over-connected and over-communicated, that we could only manage 100 to 200 people in our head at one time. That's called the Dunbar limit. And most people have tens of thousands of connections, and there's no way that you can identify the right person at the right time on the right channel, reach out with a relevant, authentic message that's meaningful to cut through the clutter in order for you to achieve a relationship, to become their trusted advisor, so that when they do make a buying decision, they not only pick up the phone and they call you, but they drag their friends with them. And so we need machines, we need bots. And I think the most important business signals that we have are still email, calendar, and phone. And to be able to mine that information, to be able to enrich it with people and company data, to be able to help you to not just identify opportunities, but actually reach out and begin to interact with them, I think will start to unfold in 2017. We're at the forefront of that with Nimble because we've unified all those signals into a singular place, and we'll be delivering additional AI to score relationships, help you to outreach at scale, measure response, and drive results.
I was just thinking of, we've got also chat that's such a force for so many people. Are we going to, where you're seeing more of on the web, text me at, and those tools? How do you see chat's going to evolve too? Because that's such a force that younger generation is living. We really know it's good business for us all to learn, meet in the middle, and talk. So what's your view on chat's role in 2017?
Well, I think if you want a hint of what's going to happen for us, just look at the tools that you interact with on the various vendors that you deal with at scale, like your bank or your credit card or other services. Many of them have machines out front of their customer call centers that can handle, gosh, over 50% of the calls that used to require a human being to interact. And in the old days, I used to hit 0 just to bypass them because they were that bad. But today they're actually effective, and I'm able to get what I need done by dealing with a machine. I know I'm dealing with a machine, but I'm okay with it because it works. And sometimes dealing with a human being is slower now than dealing with a machine in some aspects. Just take ATM as an example. There's an ATM right out front of my bank. I could walk in the door and I could go transact what I need. I prefer in that instance to deal with the machine. And so Battlestar Galactica, here we come. I mean, the age of the bots and the robots and artificial intelligence is upon us, and I think it's okay. Do I worry about machines taking over and the issues that will come with it? Yes, of course I do. Heck, just look at Uber in San Francisco started to release self-driving cars. So they're doing that today. Even though there's a human being that's behind the wheel that's observing, it's being driven by the car itself. Yet there's photographs, if you look at my Twitter stream, that show that Uber car running red lights over the past 2 days. So it's dangerous, right? So we got to be careful. But the fact of the matter is that we will get to an age of the assisted human and the non-assisted human. And right now we're all assisted with this, right? Mm-hmm. This thing is our brain. It's our second brain. It helps us to get stuff done. Before I go to a meeting, what I do is I load up my Nimble. And what my Nimble does is it essentially tells me who I'm meeting with and gives me a graphical picture in their background automatically that helps me to understand their background and stuff. And Nimble basically gives me all that. And now I think that it's going to start translating to the masses, where we're not just going to use it on a business level, but I think even on a personal level.
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to get back to the sales aspect, but look at the sales of Amazon Echo. They seem to be on Amazon. Their home entertainment audio virtual assistant is sold out on every product on Amazon. I was looking for a possible gift for someone, and they'll go available after Christmas. So
Yeah.
some say people aren't really talking to their phones yet, but then at the same time, I see the massive uh, sale of products like Amazon Echo and others. So, do you see that we'll start adopting more the talking to our computer, talking to our phone, and so forth in 2017?
I think the technology is getting that good. I still struggle with talking to Siri on my phone. But the machines that I talk to when I call my bank or my credit card are really, really effective. But they're specialized. They're focused on doing one thing. But I really do believe that the technology is going to start rapidly accelerating, and you won't have to type anymore. And you know, the funny thing is, Martin, I never learned how to touch type. So I'm a hunt and pecker. And so I love, in fact, I don't think I would have graduated college had I not owned a computer because my writing is that bad. And so being able to type in a computer and write my reports and do all my work has been essentially saved me as a person. And I think that will then translate into, you know, being able to write papers and ask it. You could actually tell it, go do research on social selling, and it'll come back with relevant information that makes sense. I mean, Google's already doing that. Just like you said, if you want to learn how to do this or that, you Google it.
And it's really providing it. So one of the questions that Elise asked, I want to get here is, even though she couldn't physically be with us, is what changes in social selling do you see coming down the pipeline in the next year?
Well, I think that today, when you talk about social selling, that most people think of LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a powerful place to go and search and find people of relevance to connect to. But ultimately, I think that for social selling to be effective, you need to be listening and engaging on whatever channel is most effective for the audience that you're connecting to, which means you need to move beyond LinkedIn across all the other channels, at the very least, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Some of these you should explore, because ultimately we connect beyond the business persona. If you want to connect with Jon Ferrara, if you just walk in my lobby, I might talk to you for a second, but that's not the way to approach me. The way to approach me is to add value to my journey across the places where I communicate and listen. And then over time, you won't even have to cold call me. I'll pick up the phone and I'll call you. And that's what really social selling is all about. And so I think that the masses are going to learn to evolve beyond just a single platform, because it takes multiple data points in order to find a point on a map, longitude, latitude, and altitude. And I think of that as social selling pillars of Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. But then beyond that, I think we're going to lose the word social, because social was just a stake in the ground to describe a new way of conversation and communication. But ultimately, that new word is just going to be an old word. It's just communication. It's like we don't really talk much about the phone anymore. It's just a fact of life. And same with email. And so we don't say email selling or phone selling. We just say selling. So ultimately, what we talk about social selling is not different than what Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Brian Tracy have taught the greats over time. We just regurgitate those ideas and call it social selling. It's just basic good business. And so my prediction is that pretty soon we're not even going to be using the word social selling anymore. We're going to just talk about the basics of sales and marketing.
Interesting. Yeah, I believe it'll just infuse into our culture.
Yeah.
And then the tools will help us interact at the different levels, like, you know, Nimble. Oh, I contacted him on Facebook, but then he responded on Twitter, and I have an interface tool like Nimble that lets me know it came from there. And that's to
right.
me an important
because
tool.
relationships are messy. they start and stop in different places. And so what I find is that in many cases, people touch me on one channel, and then we start listening and they touch me on another channel. And then some trust happens because we're starting to interact on multiple places. And then a connection happens, maybe a LinkedIn connection, and then an email exchange, and then an appointment happens. And then we start conversing on Twitter. And if we do all those things right, then we build a relationship on Facebook and Instagram. And that's where the deep relationships really happen, because that's where you share your 5 F's: family, fun, family, friends, food, fun, and frolicking, around your 3 P's: passion, plan, and purpose. And so if a picture tells 1,000 words, a video tells 1,000,000. And so all this stuff starts to sort of coalesce, and it deepens the relationship. And so you need a tool that can start and stop in all those places. So right now, your traditional CRM or contact tool, you have to go to it to use it, and you have to work for it by typing all that stuff in. With Nimble, it works for you by unifying your contacts, email, calendar, Twitter, Facebook information, infuse it with people and company data, and then let you use it wherever you're working. Because if you're sitting in your CRM, you're actually not engaging with customers. You should be engaging with customers the maximum time that you can. And that's why we built Nimble, because you got to get out there into the river and swim with your customers.
Yeah, yeah. About live streaming, virtual reality, video, what do you see in 2017? Of course, you know, there's a certain level of novelty. I'm live on Facebook now, but that quality has to sink in or people won't keep watching. What do you think's going to, what are we going to see with the instant video and then kind of blurring into the virtual reality, probably a little further down the road for the average customer? Go ahead.
Well, I think the days of somebody putting their phone on their dashboard and talking to it, saying, oh yeah, hoo, huh. You know, that's not great content. Great content is something that is meaningful, that captures somebody, that inspires them, that educates them. And I think that the people that could do that effectively at scale will win thousands, millions of eyeballs. And if you want to learn how to do this well, I recommend that you get up on YouTube and start looking at some of the videos that some of these people produce. And I think that if you think about this idea, back in the day, there was something called silent movies. And silent movies made actors very famous, like Charlie Chaplin. But then talkies started happening, and Charlie Chaplin never made that transition from the silent to the talkies. And I think that the whole explosion of live video is going to have a similar effect, that there are influencers today that won't be able to adopt video and live streaming effectively, and they might be left behind. And so if you're listening to me today, I think that some basic video editing skills, some basic framing stuff. I mean, look at what I'm doing here. I'm sitting on 1/3 of the picture. Why am I doing that? Because I studied photography and I understand the rule of thirds. And so if you want to succeed today, perception is reality, and you need to create the best perception possible. And so you need to worry about how you sound and how you look. Look at my lighting. My lighting is beautiful here, and it's all natural lighting. I set this up and designed this office so it faces the north. So I get this beautiful north light that lights me up. My office is all wood and plaster walls, and so that my sound's really great. There's no echo in here. And so all this comes to play in the new age of live streaming video. And then you get to virtual reality, and that's a whole nother ballgame. I'm kind of excited about that. In fact, that gets me to my new toy, my Christmas present. I got a Mavic Pro drone with 4K camera that folds up into a size like that big.
Oh my God.
And oh my God, I love technology. I love photography. I love video. I love RC airplanes. I love flying. That thing's got it all in one place.
We'll have, if you have any videos, maybe we can put one in a show note for them of its
right.
initial launch. Maybe what you ought to do is get one of those great recipes you make and have it there monitoring you, and you talk about making your dish on a barbecue or something. That's what I visualize.
And you know, Martin, what you just talked about is something that is really important to think about as a business person, right? That good business people in the old days built relationships by bringing somebody to a restaurant, to their home. They built that intimacy. And the fact that you know I barbecue says to me that what I'm sharing is resonating with you.
Mhm.
And so maybe we resonate on barbecue. With other people, maybe it's backpacking. With other people, maybe it's Boy Scouts. With other people, maybe it's the music that we dig. Like Timothy out in London, he digs music. He's got a record store, and we bonded on that. And so you need that extra edge in business to understand somebody and build that intimacy. And that again is why I build software, is to help people like you build relationships at scale to achieve your dreams.
Great. Education, information. What do sales professionals need to be focusing on, in your view, to keep their competitive edge in 2017?
You know, I think that we're going to get back to the basics in business in 2017. I think that the sales and marketing technology stack is just way too big. It's way too costly, way too expensive, that we're going to simplify, and we're going to start building repeatable processes and make sure that we have systems in place to help us to achieve our goals, and that the things that you need to focus on is making sure that you're doing the basics in life, identifying people that matter, reaching out and building those trusted relationships, establishing yourself as a trusted advisor, and then following up and following through. How many times, Martin, has somebody said, I'll do this for you, and they don't do it?
Hmm?
Too much, right? And so the people that actually follow up and follow through are a breath of fresh air. And I think that in 2017, it's going to be the year to get back to the basics, simplify, and get stuff done.
You mean the concept of integrity, where what you say and what you do actually match up?
You know, a brand is built on the promises you make and the experiences that you deliver. And if you could align what you promise and what you deliver, you could build a gold mine. I know I did.
In fact, he was even named that, right?
Amen. In fact, you sent me a golden Rolodex, which I still cherish.
Yeah, that was so much fun. That was the highlight of last year's Christmas for me when we came up with it. You know,
Yeah,
the
great.
golden, and then your picture of the golden Rolodex, the actual Rolodex with Nimble in the background. I think I've showed that in most of my classes to say this is what I call win in networking. But
well, you know, Martin, we all have a golden Rolodex.
Yeah.
But we don't all take good care of it. Today, most people's golden Rolodex is in here. It's in their contact book, in their phone. And the thing is, if I go to my contact book in my phone, I don't know anything about that person. I don't know the history of the relationships or the interactions that my team have had. I don't know who they are and what their business is about. And I don't know which one of those people that I should be reaching out to today. And so if you're listening to me today, take your golden Rolodex, put it in some place that you could nurture over time, because your network is your net worth. It's like a garden. You got to get out there every day and tend it. And if you do, you will reap rich rewards.
Fantastic. One side note that it concerns me personally, I want to get your view on, is future of jobs, because that's a big conversation.
Yeah.
And I have a very, very bright stepson that's been his idea of fun one summer was relearning calculus from Newtonian calculus all the way through the highest level. And he has coding and artistic skills, and he's in the programming world. He's really starting to look at machine learning and AI to sharpen his skills there. But in the bigger picture of our culture, what do you think will be the future for those that want to stay employed?
I think it's going to get worse, Martin. So in the depths of the recession in 2009, I went to a CRM conference, and an executive from Oracle, senior executive from Oracle, said, our job as enterprise software vendor is to eliminate jobs at scale. Now just digest that.
Yeah.
Automation technology is designed to eliminate jobs at scale. Just look at what Uber's doing with the self-driving cars in San Francisco. So if you're not adapting and changing, you're done. I mean, just look at the buggy whip manufacturers, right? Things change, and you got to change with it. And so I'm worried about the middle of America, outside of the tech Kool-Aid drinking coast, that think that a guy that tweets is going to be able to change the world, and I don't know. So I think that it's going to get worse before it gets better. That more and more jobs will be lost to technology, and that if you want to create a safe future for yourself, you need to own your life. You need to build something. You need to be part of something, and you need to change. And so the best way to do that is through learning, right? Your son is learning every day. Mm-hmm. In fact, I have some really great news that I got last week. My middle son, Colin, just got accepted to the University of Pennsylvania in the engineering department. And there's a reason why he's studying engineering, because that's the future, right? And so you got to change with it.
So there's several things and want to run by on the job front, because I think this is going to be more important in 2017. You know, one of my points is treat your education as the icing on the cake, and then the cake being built on your network, your ability to keep up with the field, and also enter the needs of you as a product are going to be, and how to make yourself into a product that keeps thinking, where's the next return on investment of me? Any comments on that? Because I do think that's going to be an important piece for everyone to be looking at.
Well, if you can't Google yourself and find your identity as the main hits on the main page, you're in trouble today. And so your identity is critical to your business success, and education isn't enough. So for me, I got a degree in computer science and math, but I think what made me so successful in life is my strong desire to accumulate and consume knowledge by reading a lot. Mm-hmm. The other thing was my experience in all the jobs that I did leading up to my education and after my education. That experience is invaluable. So if anybody's listening to me today, if you're a student, get out there and intern and learn things, try things, gain experience across a number of different places, and realize that even the worst experience can be some of the best lessons. And so you're right, Martin. Education is critical, but so is your brand, and so is your experience, and all that combined is really what makes up your opportunity to be successful in life.
You know, Jon, I changed my own business card, and it happened because so many people that know me said, you need to just Google this guy, Martin Brossman. And I realized I have about 20,000 index pages of content. So my card now just says Google my name. And so, you know, I think that that's something I'm excited to hear from you, because I've done some keynote talks on jobs, and I'm going, what's the ROI of you? And is there a digital footprint on the web proving it? As well as how you pay it forward with others on the web, not just your broadcasting, but that. And so I think that's probably important for our salespeople to be thinking of too, is what, you know, are you building that digital footprint for yourself? And I put great emphasis in the social media managers. A lot of them are happy being behind the scene. I go, there's no digital footprint of you. I'm concerned about your future. So that's, to me, echoes what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that for a company to build its brand, it has to empower its team members to build their brand. So if you're a business today, don't be afraid of empowering your team members to build their brand, because by building their brand, it builds a company brand by humanizing the brand and giving it a face. And the more you grow your people, the more your business will grow.
Excellent. Well, I want to kind of bring it to an end by saying, what are some of the things we're going to see on Nimble? Because Greg and I use it, and we're excited we've talked about 2017 bringing you on as a sponsor. So we're finally ready. We wanted to get our ducks in the row with it. And what do you see as what's the exciting thing happening with Nimble? Because it's Greg did ask, is there an iPad app? He just got a new iPad mini, and I guess he is a personal note on it. But what's the future coming down that you can talk about? I mean, obviously some is in development. You want to work it out first.
So in answer to your question, we do have an iOS and Android app that works on iPhone and iPad, as well as Android phones and tablets. So yes, we are just in the process of releasing deals in our mobile apps. So now you can manage your deals in there as well. But the main focus of Nimble is that today the sales and marketing technology stack is too complex, it's too expensive, and there's too many tools. And so if you think about what you need to do as a business to grow, the first thing you need to do is build a website, then get a domain and build a website. Then you layer on some sort of email thing, Office 365 or Google Apps will work. Directly on top of that, you should be loading Nimble in order to manage the social sales and marketing processes in your company. Because when you get an eyeball to your website, the first thing you need to do is you need to put it in a market automation system to nurture it till it's lead qualified. Then you got to put it in the CRM and begin to engage with them. In order to engage effectively, you need sales intelligence on them and their company. And then you need to have some sort of way to outreach at scale in a one-to-one way. So email tracking and templating. Today, if you talk about market automation, CRM, sales intelligence, and sales enablement email tracking, those are 4 different programs. And each program is going to cost you $50 to $150 per user per month. So that means that in order for you to arm your team, you need to spend $300 to $500 per rep per month in order to automate the typical social sales and marketing processes. And then you got to hire somebody and spend $30,000 to $50,000 a year to just manage all those tools. It's more than 99% of the businesses out there in the world can afford. And so Nimble in 2017 will continue to evolve itself into a complete social sales and marketing platform for a company to capture leads, cookie them, get track signals on when they return, nurture them, lead score them, put them in a CRM, get the sales intelligence, outreach in a one-to-one way as a salesperson to drive business results. And so you'll have a complete solution in Nimble. We're about 3/4 there.
Cool. Well, I love all the rollouts so much so far, especially the ability of small group emails I can send out. If I want to send out to a little team or something and track them inside. So I'm just excited to see more and more of the new rollouts of the social CRM. Well, Jon, I want to mention a few things to wrap up. Before we do it, is there anything you want to share or mention to close out? Then I have a few announcements, and we've covered a lot of great territory today.
Well, anybody listening today, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what resonated, what I shared, how I might help you grow. If you Google me, you'll find my name, Jon Ferrara, out there. You could actually sign up for Nimble at nimble.com and Nimble me. And let me know how I might help you and how we can help make Nimble even better.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, in our closing comments, I want to mention we've got something exciting available till the end of this year at socialselling.training. Socialselling.training. We are offering our LinkedIn and Twitter profile setup, which I'm extremely proud of. And it is still going to be free till the end of this year. And then it will go up in price. So we had an opening year bringing people in. And so please look at the show notes, sign up for it, share it with your friends. It's thousands of hours of our learning and teaching since 2006, and for me 2004, of being on LinkedIn, of what makes a customer facing profile versus a lame resume that many still look like on LinkedIn, and starts bringing it to life more like a digital hologram. So make sure to check that out, and Jon will share that on Twitter too if you know anyone interested. And that's the big thing I wanted to mention. Thanks for everyone listening. Please leave your comments and feedback. You can find us online everywhere. So if you go to linkinntosales.com, you can find us. And if you want to learn more about our online training at socialselling.training, for Greg Heyer and Elise Archer and myself, Jon, thanks so much. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Martin. Tell Greg and Elise that I wish them a happy holidays. Thank you to your entire community for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit of inspiration and education. And we'll talk soon.